focus on Joseph. We focus on God's favor. We focus on posterity. Can anybody tell me what posterity is again before we get going? Posterity.
Say it again. Passed on from generations to
Pass on from generation to generation. That's if you don't remember nothing else this month, you got that. Posterity. Okay? So, and God shows his favor. How did God show his favor towards Joseph? Well, last week. Anybody? How did he show his favor towards Joseph in the situation with Potiphar? Gotta get it. Exactly. He was put in prison, but he never lost his faith. Excellent. Okay, we're gonna need extra readers because Ike's gonna be moving around quite a bit, I hope. Okay. Yeah. So let's have a prayer. Ike, give us a prayer.
Let us bow. Now, Father up in heaven, we come this time, thank you for our help and strength and comfort, waking us up this morning, allow us to come together to study another portion of our word, Father. Pray for those who may be sick among that you may give them a reason portion of their help and strength, Father. Pray that everything that be said and done, that it be pleasing and acceptable unto thee. It is in Christ's name we do pray. Amen.
And let's go to Genesis 40th chapter. We'll start reading. Now, the title that I gave this is The Favor of God. God proves himself faithful. He proves himself faithful. He proved himself faithful to Joseph. And believe it or not, he proves himself faithful to us. He has done it, and he does it every day. He does it every day. How does he do it? Anybody? Anybody? How does God prove himself faithful today? He woke us up. He woke us up. Can we do anything without God? Really? That's correct. We can't breathe. We can't walk. We can't think. We can't do anything really without God, all right? But now what does God give us? He made us living. He made us in his image. But what has he given us? Say it again. Free moral will. We have choice. We have the choice to follow him or not. God is not going to get in the way. Just like he didn't get in the way with Joseph, he didn't get in the way with Jacob, Abraham, Isaac. He doesn't get in the way. We have to make the choice. Today, you made the choice to come and be part of Bible class this morning. Some people did not make the choice. I'm praying that through encouragement that you make the choice to be in Bible class, to be at church, to bring your family. This is where growth starts. And we're going to see some things. Sometimes we struggle because God is trying to help us get to a different place. But what causes me to sometimes be stuck is because I'm making the wrong decisions. Or, look at it this way, sometimes I get ahead of God. Mm-hmm. Joseph was a good man, but was he perfect? No. Okay, that's what we're going to be looking at. Let's read. I need NIV real easy. And NIV, chapter 40, verses 1, NIV. And if you can read loud, if you got a mic, get a mic for him. I want you to read loud. Take your time. I'm going to stop you from time to time to hit a point or two, and we're going to try to keep moving because we got chapter 41 to get to, too. Okay? But that is the climax in a sense. Okay? Go ahead.
1 through 23.
Start at verse 1, Genesis chapter 40. Here we go.
Sometime later, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt offended their master, the king of Egypt.
Keep reading.
Pharaoh was angry with his two officials, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guard.
I'll make a quick point right now. The husband of the captain of the guard is Potiphar. Who was in Potiphar's house? Who was in Potiphar's house? Who was in Potiphar's jail, prison? Joseph. Now remember, Potiphar showed Joseph favor because he could have killed Joseph, right? Well, who showed really was God through Potiphar. Okay? Favor. Remember that? God shows us favor too. Keep reading. Go.
in the same prison where Joseph was confined. The captain of the guard assigned them to Joseph, and he attended them.
Now stop right there. Don't go too fast, too quick. And this is important. God gives Joseph favor even in prison. Y'all see that? He gives him favor in prison, and he's over officials higher up. Favor. Keep that in mind. Even in prison, he's struggling. He came to Egypt in chains. And look what he's doing now. Boy, that's good, right? We can stop right there. Think about that. How God has favored you in situations, right? Has he favored you? Yes. Yes. Keep reading.
After they had been in custody for some time, each of the two men, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were being held in prison, had a dream the same night, and each dream had a meaning of its own. When Joseph came to them the next morning, he saw that they were dejected. So he asked Pharaoh's officials who were in custody with him in his master's house, "Why do you look so sad today?"
So before you go any further, stay right there. Look at Joseph's mindset. This is what I look at. Look at the focus that Joseph had in prison. He had a positive mindset. He had a different kind of spirit. Now, there's some other guys that had a different kind of spirit, and they were blessed. They were Jacob, or it was Joshua and who? Caleb. God said they had a what kind of spirit? A different kind of spirit. What is God calling us to have? A different kind of spirit. If you're walking around negative all the time, there's something wrong with your spirit. If you don't have nothing positive to say about things that's going on around you, there's something wrong with your spirit. And I'm going to leave it there. Okay? Let's keep going.
We both had dreams, they answered, but there is no one to interpret them. Then
Hold on, man. I got to stop right there. Did the Egyptians believe in dreams? I know you might not know that question, but yes. They believed in the prophetic dreams, and that's why God brought this to them. That's why Joseph was having all these dreams, because God was working with him. He knew, well, he's getting ready to go to Egypt. I'm going to have to work on the Pharaoh and Potiphar and all of them. I'm going to hit him with these dreams. And I'll keep reading. We're going to get there in a second. Go.
Then Joseph said to them, "Do not interpretations belong to God?"
Now, stop right there. I'm slowing it down a little bit, because here's Joseph showing strength in God, not in idols. Was he perfect? No, but who did he put his trust in? Are we perfect? But who should we put our trust in? Are we perfect? But who should we put our trust in? Keep that in mind. We should keep that in mind. You got a question back there?
May I ask exactly
Which
what verse we're on?
verse are we at? Which verse?
8.
8. Chapter 40, Genesis chapter 40, verse 8. Keep reading. You're welcome.
Tell me your dreams.
He said, tell me your dreams. You can't go to these idols. That's what he was telling these guys. You can't go to, he was strong in prison. Does God call us to be bold? He calls us to be bold and strong when it comes to the word. We're not trying to hurt folks, but when it comes to the word, you got to be what? Strong. Keep reading.
So the chief cupbearer told Joseph his dream. He said to him, "In my dream I saw a vine in front of me, and on the vine were 3 branches. As soon as it budded, it blossomed, and its clusters ripened into grapes.
Keep reading.
Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup, and put the cup in his hand. This is what it means," Joseph said to him. "The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your position, and you will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand, just as you used to do when you were his cupbearer."
Before you read any further, did Joseph doubt that God was going to give him this dream? Did he doubt? No. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask myself this question. You ask yourself, do I doubt sometimes when I ask God, when I go to him in prayer? How am I supposed to go to God in prayer? With what? Confidence, yes. Confidence. Why? And we can stop the lesson right there. Can you get a mic to her? I want them to hear this. And she taught the lesson already. Okay? What did you say again?
He has already told us he will give us the desires of our heart if they are within his divine providence and will.
Boy, that is the conglomeration of this lesson. We're going to read a bunch of verses, but she just answered all the stuff right there. Keep reading.
But when all goes well with you, remember me and show me kindness.
Okay, now, was Joseph perfect? No. Are we perfect? No. Did Joseph get a little tired of being in prison? Was he tired of being in prison? You just got through reading it. What did he tell them to do? He tell them to do, the cupbearer? He said what? Let me ask you a question. Think about it. Was that good or was that bad? Was it good or was it bad? Put it this way. Was he waiting on God at that point, or did he take his own initiative? When he asked the cupbearer, man, I'm in prison, I'm hurting, which was true, and he says, hey, when you go, remember me. Was he taking his own initiative at that point, or was he waiting on God? Okay. I agree. I agree, but I'm going to add a little twist to this. When he told those guys, I'm going to, let me give me this information. I got confidence in God, I'm praying, give this thing to God. Pray about it, everything went down. And then he turns around. He's tired. Don't we get tired? He had his chains on his feet and on his neck. He's broke down. He's handling it, but this is not the ideal place to be, right? So wasn't necessarily bad or good, but he took initiative to ask the question, which was not necessarily wrong, but I'm going to point something out. After they left, and the cupbearer gets restored. What happened? What happened? When the cupbearer got restored, what did the cupbearer do? Did he remember him or not? He forgot about him. God was trying to teach Joseph another lesson. You took the initiative. You didn't wait on me. Y'all realize he ended up, after that situation, 2 more years? 2 more years in prison because he took the initiative. Not saying it was wrong or bad, but he got impatient. So don't we get impatient sometimes? It's not necessarily good or bad, but I'm tired. Right? Instead of waiting on God, he added 2 more years. He sat there in prison for 2 more years. Okay? Keep reading.
Mention me to Pharaoh and get me out of this prison. I was forcibly carried off from the land of the Hebrews, and even here I have done nothing to deserve being put in a dungeon. When the chief baker saw that Joseph had given a favorable interpretation, he said to Joseph, I too had a dream. On my head were 3 baskets of bread. In the top basket were all kinds of baked goods for Pharaoh, but the birds were eating them out of the basket on my head. This is what it means, Joseph said. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head and impale your body on a pole, and the birds will eat away your flesh. Now the 3rd day was Pharaoh's birthday, and he gave a feast for all his officials. He lifted up the heads of the chief cupbearer and the chief baker in the presence of his officials. He restored the chief cupbearer to his position, so that he once again put the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he impaled the chief baker, just as Joseph had said to them in his interpretation. The chief cupbearer, however, did not remember Joseph.
Okay.
He forgot him.
What did he do? He forgot him. He forgot him. It wasn't necessarily wrong what he did, but God was trying to teach Joseph a lesson. You telling this dream, you doing all of this, you might begin to think that it's you that caused this to happen. You asked him to get out of jail, you might begin to think this is you that's bringing all this together. So God kind of held back on him. He put a hold on what he was going to get. Did Joseph lose faith? Just like she said. No. But God put a hold. Did he have the opportunity to lose faith? Yes. Do we? Yes. Yes. But he kept his faith. And we're going to find out. We're going to keep it, so we got to keep on reading. He never lost his faith. Are we perfect? No. But he calls us to never lose what? Our faith in God. Joseph never turned to idols, and he was in the idol what? Capital. Right? Yes. Never turned. Okay? So let's move on to chapter 41. Got a little reading to do. Chapter 41. All right, now, this is a long chapter, but we're going to take our time, but we'll paraphrase and break it down if we need to. We're going to look at Pharaoh's dream now. Okay? Let's go. Chapter 41, verses 1 through 57. And I may tell you to skip some verses. Let's go ahead and start reading it. Chapter 1. Take your time at verse 1. Okay? 41, verse 1. Take your time. Read it real slow. Go ahead. Okay? I gotta hear it in the mic. I want to hear it in the mic. Let's pass the mic.
At the end, and it came to pass at the end of 2 full years.
Hold on. Was I lying to you? How long did he stay in prison?
2 full years.
He stayed in prison after he made the request. Another what? 2 more years. Because God was trying to teach him to what? To wait on who? Yeah. Him. Does God sometimes delay his blessing for us? Yeah. Do sometimes we get impatient? Yeah. Do sometimes we want to take initiative on our own? Yeah. But then he delays that blessing for a while. And then one day he allows you to gain that blessing. Because what God wants us to do, he wants us to see that the blessing came from who? Him. And I call these nothing but God moments. Have you ever had them? You get in a situation, I think I'm handling it, and all of a sudden it gets so tough, I can't handle it no more. I got to let him have it. Yep. And as soon as I release, give it to him, the door what? Boom. Boom. I'm trying to help somebody. I'm trying to help myself. I'm trying to help you. If you want the full blessings of God, you're going to have to let go of those problems. You're going to have to let go trying to handle everything. You got to let it go. Give it to God. Now, God will bless us, but he doesn't always give us what we want. He doesn't always give you what you want. Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes it's what? No. Not yet. The question is, how do I react? How did Joseph react? Same way, with faith. Act with faith. Act in faith. Keep reading. Let's go. Here we go.
That Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine and fat-fleshed, and they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them out of the river, ill, favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the other kine upon the brink of the river. And the ill-favored, the lean-fleshed kine did eat up the 7 well-favored and fat kine. So Pharaoh awoke. And he slept and dreamed the second time, and behold, 7 ears of corn came up upon one stalk, rank and good. And behold, 7 thin ears, and blasted with the east wind sprung up after them. And the 7 thin ears devoured the 7 rank and full ears. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled.
His spirit was troubled. Keep reading. See, sometimes he will do stuff to trouble your spirit. Okay? Keep going.
And he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all the wise men thereof, and Pharaoh told them his dream.
Okay, so did Pharaoh again, did they believe in dreams? Yes. And they believed that they were prophetic. They came from a higher power. Okay, keep going.
But there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh.
What verse are you at?
9.
9. Keep reading.
Then spake the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day.
Oh, man, 2 years later. Can you imagine? Let me share something with you. When I was studying this, the Bible talks that, it calls it in Psalms, talks about Joseph, and it says that it was like a hot iron. The iron. I guess it was talking about the chains that was around his neck and how he came. But check this out. Being left after I asked somebody to remember me, I did all this stuff for him, and doggone it, he forgot me. Can you imagine how Joseph felt? Talk back. Have you ever been hurt? I have. Have you ever been forgotten about on the job? I have too. Have you ever been looked over? I have too. It hurts, right? And sometimes it sears your mind deeply, so deep to where I can't get over. I can't get over it. Have you ever been there? Because it's so deep. Can you imagine how Joseph could have been feeling right now? But what did Joseph have? Faith. That's what God's trying to get us. We got to get to the next level. We got to get to the next level. Stop living beneath where God wants us to live. He wants us to live on the next level. In what? Faith. I got to figure out a way to handle these hurts and these pains that happens. I got to give it to who? Keep reading.
Pharaoh was wroth with his servants and put me in a ward in the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief baker. And we dreamed a dream in one night, I and he. We dreamed we dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dreams. And there was there with us a young man, a Hebrew, servant to the captain of the guard.
Stop right there. I got to ask this question. Who caused this man to remember? Did he do it on his own? Don't miss that. When you got that job, who caused that to happen? When you got that car, who caused that to happen? When you had those children, who caused that to happen? That's how close God works with us every day. He is here right now. Now, you know who else is here? Satan. Satan doesn't want this message to get out. He doesn't want us to think on a higher level. Okay? He doesn't want you to live by faith when I'm in struggles, when I'm struggling. Okay? He doesn't want us to realize, you know what? I'm not perfect, but I'm keeping my faith in God. Okay? Let's get to the next level, church. Keep reading.
And we told him, and he interpreted to us our dreams To each man according to his dreams he did interpret. And it came to pass, as he interpreted to us, so it was me. He restored unto mine office, and him he hanged.
What verse are you at?
I just read 13. So I'm at
13? Okay, let's keep reading. When you get to 17, we're going to skip 17 through 24. Keep reading.
Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon, and he shaved himself and changed his raiment and came in unto Pharaoh.
Okay. Now, let's skip to verse 25. Pharaoh has to regurgitate this information and tells Joseph his dream and stuff like that. Now, I'm going to share something else that just came to me. How did Joseph present himself to the king? What did he do? He cleaned up, right? Let me ask you a question. How do we present ourselves to God? Should we clean up? Should we get ourselves together? Let me get myself together before I go to talk to who? God. That's important. Don't go to God any kind of way. That shows respect. Maybe that's why my prayers didn't get answered yesterday. I'm just talking about me. Keep reading. They got to answer, but I'm just saying. Okay, keep reading.
And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, the dream of Pharaoh is one. God has showed Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good kine are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one. And the 7 thin and ill favored kine that came up after them are 7 years, and the 7 empty years blasted with the east wind shall be 7 years of famine.
So 7 years of plenty, 7 years of famine. Keep reading.
This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What God is about to do, he showeth unto Pharaoh.
Now, let me ask you a question. Let me just point this out. Joseph said, this is what God is going to do. He didn't take any what? That's another thing. When I receive blessings, when the things happen, do I take the credit? Have I taken the credit? Do you? Sometimes. I did that. You ever hear people on the job say, I did that? Huh? I did that. Right? God wants to say, God allowed me to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share something with you. When I take credit, God holds back his blessing. Not that I want to get the blessing, I'm doing it because I love God. I need to give God always all the what? Credit. Keep that in mind. And you know what it helps? It causes us to be more humble. Humble. Humility. God hates that haughty mind. He hates it. He hates arrogance. When you come to him, you better come prostrate. Humble. Give God all the credit. Keep reading.
Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt, and there shall arise after them 7 years of famine, and all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land. And the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine following, for it shall be very grievous. And for that dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice. It is because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass.
He said, look, it ain't me. He said, this is established by who? Whatever's established by God, you can't break that. He said, this is established by God. Okay, keep reading.
Now, therefore, let Pharaoh look out.
Okay, before you go there, you got a good point here. Joseph, was he expecting to be blessed at this point? Was he expecting to be blessed? Come on. Sometimes God blesses us when we what?
Least expected.
Oh, that's it. Stop looking and grabbing. That's what grabbing. When am I getting my blessing? Oh, I want that extra money. You ever been a person just grabbing from? Well, I want that extra money. I need an extra job. I need a position. Grabbing. God took Joseph and humbled him for 2 years. Now he goes to the king just like God wanted him to. He wasn't expecting a blessing. He tells him, man, hey, why don't you go find somebody that's wise? Joseph could have said, I'm wise. I know God. Right? He didn't do that. Read.
Now, therefore, let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and send him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the fifth part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years. And let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn.
Hold that mic up real close, Vicky.
Under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt.
Before you keep reading, who's being wise already? Who's already being wise? Who's watching him? Who's watching him? Who's listening to him? And he's watching this man giving what kind of wisdom? Wise, wisdom. And okay, keep reading. Read.
That the land perish not through famine. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh.
He said, man, this is good. This is good wisdom right here, right? Keep reading.
And in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, can we find such a one as this, a man in whom the Spirit of God is?
Stop right there. Did he cause that man to believe in God, the one true God? Come on, give her a mic, please. Okay, this is good, right? Ooh, y'all, I might get up and jump here. Watch out here.
They had been observing Joseph all of the time that he had been in prison, and they realized it was something different about him. The Egyptians were multi-deity people. They believed in many gods, but they knew it was something different about Joseph and the way he lived, so they understood or was able to see that he believed in something bigger than what they believed in. So that's why it says.
So, did he cause the Pharaoh to believe in the one true God? Come on. He made him believe so much. You know what Pharaoh did? Put him second in what? Oh, come on, y'all. Y'all missing it. Was he looking for it? Made him second in command, and then said, hey, I'm giving you everything. You're going to be second in command. The only thing, you won't be bigger than me. Keep reading.
And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, for as much as God has shown thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all the people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than you, than thou.
Only me. Was he expecting that? And then God opened what? Everything he asked for, what happened? He got it. Was he grasping for it? Was he looking for it? Keep reading.
And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, see, I have set over thee all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck.
Now stop right here. He blesses him. He exalts him. What kind of spirit did Joseph still continue to have? Humble. A attitude, a different spirit, humble spirit. He knew that this blessing only came from God. Nothing but God moments. They happened then, they happen now, and they're going to happen tomorrow. And they're happening to you. The question is, do I recognize it? Keep reading.
And he made him to ride in the second chariot which he had, and they cried before him, bow the knee, and he made him ruler over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zapnath Paneah.
Good enough. That's good enough.
Okay.
Keep reading.
And he gave to him a wife.
Wow, man, Pharaoh
Asnath.
felt so respectful of the things. He gave him a wife. Keep reading. Now, of course, she was Egyptian and all that stuff, and we know all the history about, you're not supposed to marry outside the race, but he gave him a wife. Let me ask you a question. Did Joseph lose his faith because of his wife? That's another example. He never lost his faith. Keep reading.
The daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, And Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And
Stop right there. We're going to stop right there. How old was Joseph when he got exalted?
30.
Okay, we're going to find out who's going to pass the test. How old was Joseph when he was thrown into what? 17. Could he have died in the pit? What wasn't in the pit? Who was there in the pit with Joseph? Trying to show you something. Who was with Joseph when he was in Potiphar's house? God. He was placed in a prison, and he should have been what? Killed. God was there showing him favor. God is there with you and me every day, showing us favor. Showing us favor. Okay, so 30 years, he was in prison for 30 years. No, he was away from home for 30 years. He was in prison for 13 years, okay? So, total years. We're looking at this going into the next week. How long had it been since he's seen his family? Just a guess. All of the stuff that he went through. 22 years. Make a note. Now, I'm going to show you something what God can do for you. Keep reading, and then we're going to be through with this lesson. God can make you forget all your pains. He can make you forget. He can bless you in such a way that you'll forget all the stuff that happened that was wrong. At least temporarily. He'll help you forget. Read.
And in the seventh plenteous years, the earth brought forth by handfuls. And he gathered up all the food of the 7 years.
Okay, I tell you what, I want you to drop down to verse 51, because Joseph was married. He had a son. He had two sons. One's name was Manasseh. I want you to read that, verse 51.
And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for God said, he hath made me forget all my toil and all my father's house.
That is. Do you want to forget your toils and your troubles? Can God help you with that? Did he help Joseph with that? I got to remember that, because the struggles and the toils come all the time. It's constant. But God can cause and bless you in such a way that you forget all your toils and your troubles. Did Joseph leave God? Did he continue to be faithful? Yes. Next week. I want y'all to come next week. Bring somebody. Next week, here's what the topic is going to be, unless I change it. I don't think I will. I've been thinking about it for a while. To forgive or not to forgive? That's the question. To forgive or not to forgive? That's the question. You hurt me. I got it right. And I'm going to give you a piece of my what? To forgive or not to forgive? That's the question. Keep that in mind. Next week, that's what we're going to study. Because I don't know about y'all, but sometimes I struggle with that. Because the hurt is what?
Real.
And when you get hurt, that hurt is what?
Real.
The person actually did it, right? And sometimes they do it, and they look at you like, I'm doing it to you. You're a Christian, what you going to do? Right? People do things out of spite.
Right.
Most of the time, stuff happens, it's done out of spite. They know they shouldn't be doing it, but they do it anyway because you said you're a Christian. So I'm gonna hit you where it hurts. And I'm going to sear your mind so much every time you come to church, you're going to remember what that person did to you. Oh, man, I remember what happened. I remember. And what happens? That clouds our mind so that we can't get to God. I'm all in the forest, and he's trying to get us above the forest, get over that. Okay? This is where I'm trying to take us. I'm trying to take me. I know I got hurt. You know it too. But the question is, how do I respond? And how will you? We got a lot of stuff we got to do. And there's going to be a lot of hurts. And sometimes I'm going to hurt you. Sometimes you're going to hurt me. I pray I don't. But it happens because we all got different personalities. Some strong, some weak, some in the middle. And it all clashes together sometimes. The question is, how are we going to handle that? to forgive or not to forgive? That's the question. I'll leave you a clue. If I can't forgive my brother, how can I say I love God and I don't forgive my brother? We got a bunch of people lying up in. We got a bunch of people lying because a lot of people have not forgiven. Okay, and it's going to keep us out of what?
Heaven.
At the end of the day, it's the bottom line. Let's get to the next level next week. To forgive or not to forgive. Okay, you're dismissed.